Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Redbeard. It is a damn fine day to talk about a book. And today we're here for a book review. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this one. Wake up and open your eyes. Feel like I need to go straight into synopsis, but this book is it really takes the divisiveness, how divided we are here in America, Republican, Democrat, right, left, liberal, conservative, and turns it into a horror story. Which, look, on the idea, I like it. I mean, I like it. I definitely look, for lack of a better way of putting it, I am a Democrat. Okay, but this feels kind of like heavy handed, and I get it. Times are as far as that goes, as far as the divisiveness, worse than it's ever been. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a history buff, and I also hate the news, and I try to keep that shit off. And I get it. That's maybe not the right response, but I mean I know that I cannot just not watch the news for the next 4 years, but that's where I personally am at this particular moment. And it's weird to have a book about divisiveness that is probably a pretty damn divisive book. For me, it was 3 stars. I like the idea. It wasn't that I didn't like the story, and it wasn't that I was offended by the heavy handedness of it. For me, it was more of a I mean, it's a very isolated, small story for what it is. I mean, I kind of wanted more of the why and how, and I'll get a little bit more into that as well. But um, yeah, and it's one of these ones that, like, I was near the end. I was like, how in the absolute fuck is this gonna wrap up? And I was a little, I guess, let down with the way it wrapped. I felt rushed. The ending felt really rushed, I guess. So anyways, let's talk about it. I mean, it's definitely, I'm assuming, going to be a much talked about book, and for good reason. I mean, it's definitely a conversation starter of I don't know, yeah. Anyway, so quickly though, I did see that one of my favorite authors, who I just absolutely love all of his shit, said something about it here on the back. This is Keith Rawson, author of Fever House. Surreal, hypnotic, unrelenting, profoundly claustrophobic, and an absolutely scathing send up of the pitfalls of American divisiveness. All right, let's see what. I'll just do one more of these. Let's see what Josh Mallerman says here. The proximity of Chapman's demons is enough to make one lock the doors, turn off the television, and curl into a ball in the dark. Definitely, like my wife, we as a family, really, like even my wife. My wife was always a morning news type person. I was not, but even she has kept the news off. She's read more books in the first 2.5 months of this year than she read in all of last year. And she's an English teacher. Don't get me wrong, she is not a reader, but she is getting up in the morning, getting her coffee, taking her book, and going and starting her day that way rather than with the news. And so the other day I was midway through this book and she was up with the news. I was like, fuck, turn that shit off. But anyway, so I'm gonna read you synopsis, kind of see where we can go with that really quickly, maybe. I'm not sure why I did that, why I showed you my messy ass hair. I legitimately I am an old man. I guess I legitimately went to take my glasses off and I took my damn hat off. Noah Fairchild has been losing his formerly polite Southern parents to far right cable news for years. So when his mother leaves him a voicemail warning him that the Great Reawakening is here, he assumes it's related to one of the many conspiracy theories she believes in. But when his own phone calls go unanswered, Noah makes the long drive from his home in Brooklyn to Richmond, Virginia. There he discovers his childhood home in shambles, a fridge full of spoiled food, and his parents locked in a terrifying trance-like state in front of the TV. Panicked, Noah attempts to snap them out of it and get medical help. Then Noah's mother brutally attacks him. But Noah isn't the only person to be attacked by a loved one. Families across the country are tearing each other apart, literally, as people succumb to a form of possession that gets worse the more time they spend glued to cable news or falling down internet rabbit holes. In Noah's Richmond-based family, only he and his young nephew Marcus are unaffected. Together, they must race back to the safe haven of Brooklyn. But can they make it before they fall prey to the violent hordes? This ambitious, searing novel from one of the horror's modern masters holds a mirror to our divided nation and will shake readers to the core. Yeah. One thing I want to mention before I forget, like there are a lot of like quiet Easter egg shout outs to other authors in here, but one especially one, and I won't go into it, but to Eric LaRocca, which I found cool. Like it was a message board or something where like it showed like the user's name, and it was it had something to do with eyes. That is a major part in one of LaRocca's books that I read that was really cool. But so yeah, a guy and his family, his mixed race family, live in Brooklyn. Thanksgiving they were home with his parents, and something was said, something racist, about or something about deporting people, and he's sitting there with a Haitian wife and a half Haitian child, and so he really hasn't talked to his parents since Thanksgiving. Well, we're kind of approaching Christmas, and December 20th is this reawakening day, right? That anyway. So he goes to see his parents, and it's just an absolute shit show. I mean, they're glued to the screen, like this. A guy named Paul Tammany, who I assume is supposed to be Sean Hannity, is spouting shit, and they're just, eating it up, and they go, violent. I mean, again, not zombies, but very, very zombie like. And he gets out of there. I mean, I'm definitely speeding. He gets out of there. I'm not going to go into what happens. He goes to his brother's house. Who, look, his brother was like, not, look, I mean, he probably voted conservative. He was probably, socially, what is it? What do they call it? Socially liberal, fiscally conservative, something like that. People that probably voted Republican back before the line was so definite, right? Before Trump. I mean, look, my parents. I was brought up in a very religious household. I assume my parents voted Republican. Ronald Reagan and whatnot. But I didn't know about it, and nobody else knew about it. We didn't fly a fucking flag in the yard. You know what I mean? And so I feel like again, the candidates used to be a lot closer. I feel. I didn't really get super political until the war in Iraq. I mean, until we went to Afghanistan after 9/11, and I feel like everybody was kind of behind that loosely. I mean, and then we turned it into the war in Iraq, and at that point, I changed. I mean, that's when I firmly, became, I guess, take the political stance that I do today. But whatever. All I'm saying is it used to feel that it wasn't such the divide that it was. I don't want to go into that, but so yeah. So he goes to his brother's house, who was, I mean, probably voted Republican, but was not a MAGA Republican, and another thing, I don't think this book ever says the word Trump. It might. It actually never says the word Fox News. It says Fax News. But anyway, his brother's family is in a complete crazed shambles as well. Like his brother has actually, gotten to the point where he's gone to a school and like broken in, past the security barriers to try to track down the crisis actors, right? The kids that are being trained to be the crisis actors at the next fake news school shooting. Um, so yeah, so but at this point, and again, this is kind of like, because I feel like 75% of this book is telling us that only the Fox News people are the ones that are affected, but it's also because his sister-in-law, she goes down the rabbit hole of some yoga mama, wellness, health Instagrammer. You got to drink all the right smoothies and do the right this and that. And she goes down a rabbit hole of that and is turned. And his son, the older son, he goes down another rabbit hole of Twitter, but not like political Twitter. And he, so it is not just right wing news. It's really anything. It feels like it's a scathing. Get your ass off social media. I mean, stop. Stop doom scrolling. But anyway, but that part's brief because then it kind of circles back and it feels like like it goes back to where it's 90% right wing stuff that has turned people that way. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is it's multiple. It's this right here, it's that, it's this thing. That anyway. So he goes there. The only person that is still cool is his youngest nephew, and he takes him, and so that's part one is him finding his parents. I'm not gonna tell you what happens. Part two is him going to his brother's house, and again, there's varying levels of the rabbit hole and what comes out of that. But his nephew is all right, and then part three is him trying to get back home to Brooklyn on foot, and that's the post-apocalyptic questing aspect that feels like The Stand. I mean, there's even a tunnel scene, the tunnel into Baltimore. I think it's the tunnel into Baltimore. Very reminiscent of The Stand and is that the Brooklyn, the Holland Tunnel? Was that the anyway? So yeah, and it gets to a point where again, like we've talked about demons on here, and we've talked about that this is some sort of digital possession, and that demons don't care what God we worship. I mean, there are demonic stories across all religions, I guess, and it talks about it being some digital possession. But there's a brief aspect where no, it's just us. It's just the breaking point. It's the breaking point of the divisiveness that is out there every damn day. And I get it. It's because the things to stand up for, the things to draw that line and unfriend your family members and to stop taking their calls. I mean, the things that are dividing us now seem to be the biggest, most important, put your foot down type shit ever. But there's one, again, brief point in the book where it's not any type of digital demons. It's us. It's just a breaking point that has happened, this great reawakening or whatever. Anyway, so he is trying to get home to see if his wife and daughter are okay in Brooklyn. So, and that's it. That's where I'm going to leave you. That's the gist of the book. So, I didn't love the book. I liked the book, and again, it's not necessarily the political aspects of the book. For me, it was more the way the story was told. Because again, 3 parts, 3 long, unbroken chapters. It's like you get into this part where he goes into his parents' house, and I mean, that's like 80 pages long, roughly. I'm guesstimating, and you're like, all right, this is cool. I mean, because when it first happened, I was like, oh, this is, but then it felt like that part drug out forever, and then we spend the second half again on how this is affecting his brother's family, and and it starts slow, right? Like, the brother puts, he's like, let's see what this fax news is all about. I mean, and it escalates. It goes from, I'm only going to watch a couple hours of news a night to the news being constantly on at full blast in every room in the house, and you get what I'm saying. But that part felt long. I mean, it felt like, okay, we spent too much time on this. Well, what's going on? Just in my personal opinion. But I did like it. And again, I did buy Ghost Eaters by McLeod Chapman when I was about halfway through this because I want to read more Chapman. And Ghost Eaters is the one. I may have it right here. I do. Ghost Eaters is the one that kind of brought Chapman to my attention initially. This one was all over my social media, at least back then. But I haven't read it, so I'm going to be getting into this one soon. So it's a 3-star book for me. Wake up and open your eyes. Tell me what you think. Yeah. Appreciate you being here. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.